So you're considering a move to the Lakeway area, or perhaps you're just comparing this to other spots around Greater Austin that have caught your eye. I've actually lived in Lakeway for over the past 10 years and have a ton of insight about what it's really like living in Lakeway, definitely from an insider's perspective. My name's Aubrey von Behren. I'm a licensed real estate broker here in the Greater Austin area. And like I said, I've lived in Lakeway for 10 years and there are a ton of things, both good and bad, that I wish I would have known prior to making a decision to move here. So I'm gonna go over those with you today, and let's just go ahead and jump right in. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the location of Lakeway to better orient you. So Lakeway itself is about 13 square miles and it's situated almost right next to Lake Travis itself. So no matter where you are in Lakeway, you're within 5 miles to Lake Travis itself, which is incredible. It's essentially in your backyard. You can take part in all of the water activities, kayaking, paddleboarding, boating, really anything you can imagine you can do on Lake Travis. And that's your backyard if you're living in Lakeway. Now, Lakeway itself is about 20 miles from downtown Austin, which typically equates to about a 30-minute commute from point A to point B, depending on exactly where you are. And being here for the past 10 years, I've found that no matter where you're going in Austin, whether it's North Austin, downtown, or South Austin, it typically tends to be right around that 30-minute mark. Now, if you're traveling during the typical peak rush hour time, so morning, afternoon, early evening, then that drive time is going to be a little bit longer. So if that, depending on where you're coming from exactly, all of that is relative, right? So if you're moving from Los Angeles, New York City, Atlanta, Houston, that's probably not going to be anything compared to your typical commute. If you're coming from a smaller city where traffic really isn't an issue, then that might irritate you a little bit, having to be behind the windshield that much and plan your days a little bit more. The reason I always like to bring this up though is because when you're looking at a map and you're exploring Lakeway itself, maybe Lakeway's proximity to Bee Cave, which is a little bit south of Lakeway, and you're looking at Ranch Road 620 on a map, it's only a few miles long when you're thinking of commuting there. With that being said, depending on when you're traveling, the fact that you only have one way in and one way out into and out of Lakeway on 620 can be deceiving, because when 620 has an accident or a light is out or really any sort of snag in that regard, you'll find yourself pretty much gridlocked on 620, since that's our only thoroughfare in and out of Lakeway. So I always like people to know that, because if that's something that could really impact your level of enjoyment in an area or even your commute times, I think it's really important to know that right out of the gate. Again, welcome to Living in Austin, Texas channel. This channel is all about what it's like living in Austin. I'm going to show you the behind the scenes and everything in between. Be sure to hit that like button. It helps people just like you find this information a little more easily. And if you like what you're seeing, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you're alerted of the videos that I'm putting out for you each week. My name is Aubrey von Behren, and I'm a licensed real estate broker here in the Greater Austin area. And I have so many people reaching out who are relocating to the Austin Metro and love it. So be sure to call, text, email, schedule an appointment with me in the link below, and let's talk more about your potential move to Austin. So Lakeway itself is actually the city of Lakeway. We have our own municipality, mayor, city council, and police force. So I think that's really neat because it's completely separate from the city of Austin. If for some reason you don't identify with city of Austin politics, or you're just looking for a smaller, closer knit community, you can find that in the city of Lakeway. Now, a couple of other things that really only locals would know about, or people driving through that have learned the hard way, we do have our own police force and they are very involved in speeding and traffic tickets. So do not speed within Lakeway, even if you're going just a few miles an hour over the speed limit, especially in the neighborhoods within Lakeway. You will definitely get pulled over. So just forewarning, if you're exploring the area, just watch putting the pedal to the metal. It'll save you a few dollars. One thing a lot of people don't know about is the crazy amount of wildlife that you'll find in Lakeway. We have a huge population of white-tailed deer all throughout the woods of Lakeway, and it's really, really cool because a lot of times you'll see these deer just hanging out in people's front yards, and during the spring and summer months, of course, they have their fawns. So it's a really cute sight to be seen. You also just really have to be aware of how many deer there actually are. Lakeway has such heavy vegetation off of a lot of the main roads that when you're driving at night, and if you're not really paying attention, a lot of these deer can dart out into the road and hit your car, or you could hit them. So you have to know that they're there and just be aware of that. It's also important to note that most of the front yards are not typically fenced in, and the deer will eat your really nice plants. So you want to make sure that you can find the best possible deer-proof plants and make sure those are in your front yard, because you'll be really unhappy when you put those nice flowers out and the deer just annihilate them. Now, what a lot of people don't know about, and I don't want you to have to learn this the hard way, is that there are coyotes in Lakeway. Again, we just have a ton of vegetation, and that includes really nice creeks and green belts. So because of the water and the tree coverage, we have so much wildlife out here. There's also nature preserves and other areas that are just completely undeveloped, and they're great habitats for all of this wildlife, which is really, really nice. But the problem becomes when you have small pets, so little dogs, certainly cats that are indoor and outdoor cats. I actually went through this a couple of months ago. I had a 7-year-old cat since he was a little kitten. He was a savvy little guy, and I just never knew the coyotes were actually so close. I'm not positive what happened, but I do know he was taken by a coyote a couple of months ago, and he was a really smart, savvy little cat. So they are really close. Even if you can't see them or hear them, just know that there are coyotes in Lakeway, and you have to be very careful, especially if you have small pets. So always keep your little dogs on a leash. If you have a cat, try to keep it indoors or at least contained within your yard if at all possible. Just be really aware of those things. For the most part though, having wildlife in Lakeway is really, really nice. It's pretty cool to see all of the animals scurrying about. We have raccoons, possums, of course, the little squirrels everywhere. That's pretty common, but it's just really, really neat, and I think adds to the charm of Lakeway. I was actually, this was, I think last year, I was walking the dogs throughout Lakeway, and there was this huge axis deer sitting in this woman's front yard. I have no idea where that came from, but it was a big boy just chilling in this woman's front yard in Lakeway. So that was hilarious. I'm going to try to find a picture of that, and if I still have it, I'm going to snap it on the screen. But it was just really neat, and another example of why I think Lakeway is just such a gem of a location. So if you're exploring Lakeway, you probably already know that Lake Travis itself is situated essentially right next door to Lakeway. It's basically in the backyard of Lakeway. You're within 5 miles of Lake Travis, no matter where you are in the city of Lakeway. So I think that's incredible. But unless you live here or you've done a lot of research, you probably don't realize how many access points there are to Lake Travis. And Lake Travis is not a typical beachfront entry like maybe you'd get in certain areas that you're used to. So if you're not familiar with the area, Lake Travis is a man-made lake that was dammed up, and you'll find that dam on 620, and it's called Mansfield Dam. So that's essentially created Lake Travis, and Lake Travis has cliffside and shoreline. Most of it is very, very rocky. So you don't really have a beachfront entrance to the lake in any way, but you definitely have access points within Lakeway, and I think that's really important to note. So Lakeway has Lakeway City Park, which when the water in Lake Travis is higher, so that brings me to another point, Lake Travis is not a constant level lake, so that water will fluctuate. Right now it's about 50% capacity. You can still drop a boat in there, you can still enjoy it, but certain access points to Lake Travis are a little bit more difficult right now because the water is so low. But when the water is at normal heights, you can easily get into that area through Lakeway City Park, which is in the heart of Lakeway. It's a really cool spot where you could go have a picnic, grill out for the day, or just take the dogs for a walk. a lot of people, when the water is up, will do cliff diving over there too, in the cove where Lakeway City Park is located. So definitely check that out. It's a really neat spot. You also have a handful of marinas all around Lake Travis. So those are great spots to store your boat. If you have a boat, rent a boat, drop a kayak or paddleboard in. Really good entry points for getting into Lake Travis. And those are all located in Lakeway. I think we have about 4 marinas in the immediate area. So definitely no shortage there. And you can capitalize on that for your Lake Travis enjoyment. Lakeway has a ton of recreational amenities that not many people know about prior to actually moving here. So I want to break those down for you. I think it's a huge draw and factor to consider when looking in the Lakeway area. So we have, of course, golf courses. I'll dive into those a little bit more deeply. We also have a big swim center for the city of Lakeway, and then World of Tennis. So let me start with World of Tennis. That is actually the largest tennis club in the city of Austin with over 900 active members. So I think that's really, really awesome that that's in Lakeway. There's also indoor courts, outdoor courts, and a really nice fitness facility in the World of Tennis. You can get an annual membership there, and it's not too outrageous also. So if you're interested in that, you can contact the Hills Country Club. They manage a lot of these golf courses and country club memberships in the Lakeway area, so definitely check that out. Now, Lakeway Swim Center is an outdoor heated pool. It's 6 lanes, 25 yards long. There's a family pool too with water slides, super fun. They have a concession stand. There's also a really great skate park. So if you have kids or you're an adult and you can still skateboard, BMX bike, do all of those other things, then that skate park is really, really awesome. It's definitely used a lot. You can get an annual membership to the Lakeway Swim Center. So if you're a resident of Old Lakeway where you don't have a homeowners association like you do in some of these newer master plan communities, and you don't have amenities such as pools, fitness centers, things of that sort offered in Old Lakeway, you can definitely tap into those by being a member of World of Tennis or the Lakeway Swim Center. Very nominal, reasonable amounts too. If you are a Lakeway resident, then you will get a discount too on an annual membership. So definitely something to consider. I think those are great amenities that are just minutes away from wherever you would be living in the Lake Travis area. Now, for all of you golfers, this is a huge one. We have 4 golf courses in Lakeway. You have Live Oak, Yopon, the Hills, and Flint Rock Falls. The Hills and Flint Rock Falls are located in each of those gated communities, same names, the Hills and Flint Rock Falls. And then Yopon and Live Oak golf courses fall within Old Lakeway, which is a little bit older, a little bit more eclectic than some of these gated communities that are a bit newer. So definitely something for everyone. You can get an annual membership to all of those courses, or you can just get the classic membership to Live Oak and Yopon courses. All are very, very nice. So I always like to point that out. You have so many recreational activities really for everyone, all situated in Lakeway. You don't often find that in many other spots. So definitely a big convenience factor there. So a lot of people move to the Lakeway area purely because of the excellent school district that it's a part of, which is Lake Travis Independent School District. And not only is Lake Travis ISD exemplary in terms of academics, it's actually fantastic for sports. So if you have any kids that are in sports, their football team is actually a 5-time consecutive state championship winner. And I think they've won 6 times, but they did it 5 times consecutively, which is pretty awesome. They also have numerous other sports that have placed in state rankings, even a sailing team, which I think is incredible because you have Lake Travis essentially in your backyard with a huge sailing population. So it's pretty neat that the high school would have a sailing team, definitely something that not a lot of people know about, and you should certainly check out. Now, to go a little bit deeper, in 2022, US News World and Report actually ranked Lake Travis ISD in the top 6% nationally. So that's huge. And that really matters, of course, if you have kids that are enrolled in any of the schools in Lake Travis ISD, but also if you're a homeowner in this area, because property values are directly related to, of course, the ranking of school districts. And knowing that you're in a top school district such as Lake Travis ISD is very, very good for you in terms of resale factor. I definitely consider myself a foodie, and one of my actual hobbies is exploring new restaurants in and around Austin. So living in Lakeway for the past 10 years, I've definitely had to adjust because we just don't have the same culinary scene that you would find in Austin proper. Now, there are definitely workarounds. Don't get me wrong. There are some really good restaurants and locally owned restaurants in the Lakeway area. We definitely still have some of the chains that you'll find like Chili's and the other familiar faces, but we do have some locally owned spots that are really good. What's difficult about it though is that you end up going to the same few restaurants so often that they just get a little bit stale and boring, although they are very good. And it's really nice to see the familiar faces of the local business owners running their restaurants. So it's really nice. You get the close-knit community vibe in a lot of these places too. But if you're like I am and you do like trying new restaurants, you may find yourself needing to venture into Austin or around Austin a little bit more than you might like, just to try to find a really good spot that offers a little bit more of a variety. All right, when it comes to searching for a home in Lakeway, there is such a variety. Now, I'll start with Old Lakeway. Old Lakeway is actually about 1,000 acres, and it started with just 300 homes back in the 60s and 70s. So what you get in Old Lakeway right now is a combination of many homes that are quite a bit older, that have been remodeled. Some of them haven't, they haven't been touched yet, and you'll definitely notice those. And then a handful of new builds in certain areas of Old Lakeway where maybe a house was torn down or there was an available lot and someone built a new home. What's really neat about Old Lakeway though is that all the homes are different. So in some of the newer communities, the newer master plan communities, while there is definitely an attraction to those and numerous really nice amenities offered, including fantastic homes with really versatile floor plans, many of the homes look similar, and not everybody necessarily wants that. So if that's you, then Old Lakeway may actually be a really good spot for you because it provides a little bit of architectural variety. Now, the homes are predominantly older, so you'll need to be okay with that versus going to something a little bit newer with maybe extra peace of mind, but you definitely get that more eclectic variety. Now, another thing to point out about Old Lakeway is that for the most part, Old Lakeway does not have a homeowners association. Some people really like a homeowner association, but many people don't. And even though Lakeway doesn't have an HOA per se, they do have city regulations that need to be followed. So for example, you can't leave your trash cans out overnight. You know, some people will leave their trash cans out for a week on end, and it's just kind of an eyesore. So the city of Lakeway does put those ordinances in place for homeowners to follow. And people, for the most part, really do follow that. And so things still look really nice. People's properties are maintained, and those city ordinances help with that. But you don't have the additional cost of an HOA like you might have in some of the newer communities or the gated communities where they're paying for a lot of different infrastructure and common area amenities. So that's definitely a plus for a lot of people that just really don't love HOA living. For all of the pilots or travelers out there, what I think is really neat about Lakeway is that there's a private air park, which is Lakeway Air Park. So we're actually about 40 minutes, depending on time of day, from Austin Bergstrom International Airport, which is located in Southeast Austin. And typically, if you're traveling, that's going to be your main in and out. And we're about 40 minutes from that, sometimes a little bit faster, depending on time of day. But what's really neat about Lakeway too is that there is a private air park. So if you're a pilot or you know somebody with a plane, a private plane, and you want to hop on that, there is an air park where you can have an annual membership, keep your plane. They even have homes on the runway where your garage is an actual plane hangar. So it's pretty neat, and I think definitely unique to the area, something to explore, especially if you're a pilot or you may have access to a private plane where you could go in and out of the Lakeway Air Park for definite convenience. Another thing that I absolutely love about Lakeway, and you wouldn't know about this by just looking on a map, you really have to know these areas by living here. There are a ton of hiking and biking trails all throughout Lakeway. So again, we have just so much really nice vegetation, which includes creeks, green belts, all of these different paths within the huge tree canopy and hill country that we have out here. So that lends itself really well to outdoor activities. And all throughout Lakeway, you'll find a trail system where people are walking, biking, hiking, whatever it may be. There's actually a really neat section too, a little bit closer to Rough Hollow, where a lot of people will mountain bike because we have these really good hills, and again, just tons of trail systems throughout all of the big oak and cedar trees that we have out here. So I think that's what's really unique about Lakeway. It's very outdoorsy if you want to plug into that, and definitely not something that you would really know about easily unless you lived here and experienced it for yourself. Guys, this is all about what it's like living in Austin, Texas, and today, Lakeway, Texas. As much as I love making these videos for you each week, I would love even more to help with your home search here in the greater Austin area. So call, text, email, schedule an appointment with me in the link below. I would love to connect and learn more about your potential move within Austin.